What's going on, everyone, and welcome into another episode of Expected Bets for episode 60. So another
Wow.
milestone we've hit, boys.
Nice.
They just keep racking up at this stage. But we're going to break down the games for January 11th. We'll go over 6 of them. A few good matchups here. A few, obviously, ones that we won't touch on. But be sure to check out kind of our plays of the day that will come out tomorrow as well when the podcast released to see kind of what else we have for the slate. Before we get into some news and notes around the NHL, let's bring in the rest of the crew. Betzky coming off a good win last night for the Yotes. They take down Boston. So how we doing?
That was a lot of fun to watch. Had a little bit of a losing streak there. Mullet Magic, man. It is an unreal thing in that building. And this is, the second time they've beat them in the Mullet, which is the second time they played them there. And the second time they've beaten them since 2012. When I was still bartending, and gosh, I was, in my 20s still.
How times have changed. I know. Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. No, it's crazy. I mean, it's been a fun ride with this team. So.
Yeah. Franco, obviously we'll touch on this in a second, but it sounds like Philadelphia, the fan base has calmed down right now. No real major news out of Philly. Right?
Yeah, it's a mild, just normal day here. I mean the fallout now, I guess we'll go over in a minute, but a little more, even keel today after that wild couple, 24 hours or whatever with all the news breaking with Gauthier. So, man, it's crazy here. A lot of stuff going on. So we'll get into it pretty soon here.
Yeah, let's get into it right now, obviously. So Gautier's going to Anaheim. Jamie Drysdale's going back to Philly here. Just kind of a crazy 24 hours in terms of trades happening in January. Probably one of the biggest ones that really came out of left field, it seems like here. Lot of rumors, a lot of kind of stories coming out after the fact of he told Philly he wanted to play for them at the draft. Then you start to see all kind of these clips coming out after of Torts basically saying, who is this guy, essentially, and then him showing he's a Penguins fan, X, Y, and Z. People speculated Kevin Hayes was involved, the announcers ripping him apart, Philadelphia fans reacting pretty level-headedly. Just, I mean, what is 24 hours? Yeah. So, Franco, I'll get your kind of initial thoughts on this because it seemed like I was kind of glued to Twitter for 24 hours just watching breaking news come out of every corner of Twitter pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy. I was actually working that night. I had to work a night shift, and I got the news, a notification or whatever, and I'm like, hold on, this is fake. This is definitely a fake thing. There's no way. Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah, or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple guys. There's a couple guys on Twitter that like post fake like meme shit for the Flyers because they've been so bad over the years, and I think it's funny. It's great, but like, I definitely thought that's what it was, and I'm like, okay, no, this is real. This is crazy. What? I don't know. The first reaction was just like, why? Why would you ever trade a guy like this? You just saw what he did in World Juniors, and couldn't possibly have a higher stock than right now, and why trade him for, on the surface, at least what appears to be, an oft injured defenseman, at least in his early career. He's only 21 in Drysdale, but, kind of weird on the surface. Then the news broke about him not wanting to be here. And that's when, Philly does the Philly thing where we say, all right, you're done, quickly turns on him, and everybody is up in arms, obviously, here. Twitter was a blast that night, so that was pretty fun. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what's true at this point. Obviously, we're supposedly gonna get his side to the story at some points here. So I don't know. I guess all things considered, if he really didn't want to be in Philly and soured on the franchise for whatever reason it was, it's not that bad of a haul in getting a guy like Drysdale. He's 21, puck moving defenseman with speed that can skate. I don't remember the last time the Flyers had one of those. Never. Eric Desjardins or something like that, maybe. I mean, it's been pretty brutal for that type of player in Philly. Let's put it that way. Sanheim's Yeah, Gostisbehere, I guess. But like Sanheim's been the closest to that over the last few years, and he's not the best, let's put it that way, as far as, in his own end, and has some issues there. So, I mean, if Drysdale can be the guy that he's supposed to be and is hyped up to be, then I'm excited about it, and the whole, to be able to get him in a second for a guy that doesn't want to be here, that's not too bad. So
a Ducks second,
like I said,
too, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, we're talking about it's 2025 though, not this
25,
year.
yeah. So
okay.
I mean,
they would have to make a big leap, and now that they're talking about moving Zegras, I mean, that could be a high, pick 36.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, it's pretty good. If I think if that news gets out and everybody knows about it, you're not getting that type of player back in return. So,
yep,
I'll take it. Hopefully Drysdale works out, and we'll see what happens with Gauthier. But yeah, man, I think it's just crazy in general, the entitlement that players can have at such a young age. And I mean, I get it. Like, you want to play for a team. You've always dreamed to play for a team, and now you got drafted by a team that you hate or don't want to be at, or whatever, the spotlight's too big or something like that. I don't know what his reasoning is, obviously, but yeah, I don't know. We've seen players over the years do it the other route, where you just go and play college for 4 years and then you go to pick the team you want to be with. But this is a different animal, so to speak. And yeah, I don't know. Like I said, more even keel today. I was flipping out that night, so definitely better, and whatever. So what do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, I think the return's pretty good. I don't know how deep I'm not too well versed in the Flyers pipeline as far as like you get what you've drafted in the second round and stuff, but it seems like you need more defensemen, and this is a young one who was top 6 pick in 2020, which was a hugely wildly acclaimed draft year. Drysdale came in and played, I think, his rookie year, the following season for the Ducks, and had a phenomenal year. And then the following year after that had that major injury. And this year's kind of been up and down with injury. And I don't think there's much support there as far as young defensemen breaking into that team. I mean, Minchikoff's looking great, but I don't blame him as his physique or him being a quote unquote like injury prone player yet. I mean, we'll need to see if this continues, obviously, but shit happens sometimes, and that was a team that was deprived of bigger people to stand up for younger kids. So Zegras has been out now quite a couple times, and even though they added some bulk and some big boys this season, still doesn't seem like the team's really like rallied around that type of identity yet. So I think this is a great home for Drysdale. I think this is a great defensive unit for him to maybe play a true two-way with maybe a little lean on the offensive side type of style. Torts, say what you will about him, but I think he is a good coach for a certain X amount of years, and then it usually fades away. And I think a lot of players can learn a lot from him when they are buying into what he's saying or screaming. And I don't mind it. I mean, if you're getting a player that wants out, I'm glad they didn't wait. Cutter could have easily taken the whole 4-year route and play college the whole time, and then you get nothing back. So clearly the org was talking to him and feeling it out and pulled the trigger when they needed to, because you didn't hear anything from Gauthier's camp. Like, sometimes these players start to raise a stink, and obviously he doesn't really have any control of his own destiny in that aspect quite yet, but clearly said enough internal things to where the Flyers organization saw the writing on the wall and made a move. I don't remember the last time we've seen prospects being moved like this, especially prospects that haven't played a day for their organization.
Well, yeah, that was what was so shocking about it, right?
Yeah.
Like, why are you training a 19-year-old that hasn't even sniffed the NHL yet? Why would you even do that? You don't even know what you have.
Yeah.
I mean, this 2022 draft is already kind of become an issue too. And along with Gauthier, you have the Shane Wright saga.
Oh,
Where's he going to
that's
end
a
up?
weird one. Yeah,
It's already. I mean, these guys haven't even really made an impact. None of them really have. And it's already two kind of major storylines coming out of this draft. It's pretty. It's interesting for sure.
And honestly, there was a second where Cooley started seeming a little weird because he was going to played a year in University of Minnesota, was almost a Hobby Baker Award winner, and seemed like all the writing on the wall was that he would come to the sign with the Coyotes and decide to play again for University of Minnesota. And then later in the offseason, he signed and now he's a Coyote. But man, when that news came out that he was going to play again, I was scared shitless. I figured that was Blake Wheeler.
You were probably having flashbacks right there. Right?
Oh yeah. I mean, especially because that was like right after all the arena news. I mean, it looked bad. But yeah, I wonder what this is going to do for teams drafting NCAA eligible or committee players. It's already a little bit of a gamble. I mean, I would say most of these players who get drafted and then go play in college don't hold out for 4 years. But now we're seeing a move where the player doesn't even need to hold out for 4 years, get traded.
Yeah,
because they always have that. Yep, they have it in their back pocket. So I would say over the past 4 to 5, maybe 6 years, we've seen kind of a decline in CHL, the prospects. I mean, maybe not the quality, because we're still seeing top end prospects come out of those leagues, but the quantity of that quality seems to be dipping. And I think we're seeing the U.S. program become pretty dominant, definitely rising up the ranks, and we're seeing kind of the Euro leagues start making quite a bit of noise again.
I mean, it's shown at the World Juniors.
Yes,
and it's yeah. I mean, this year was crazy too at the World Juniors. So yeah.
And I wonder if this is going to make more teams pause on drafting a kid who's talking about going to the NCAA. I mean, and Canadians are allowed to do it too, but kids that are committed pre-draft or talking about going post-drafts, or maybe if they played their quote unquote senior year in college, this may start to be a red flag of, do you really want to use the top 5 pick on a kid that's, already at BU and could have 4 good years there and essentially write his own destiny, especially for some of the more, shaky organizations out there. But should be interesting. I think this will have more impacts than just a Flyers and Ducks trade. Oh, it already is. I mean, there's already Zegras rumors now, right?
Yeah, this 2022 draft, kind of going through it again, it could go down as one of the weakest classes we've seen, or just one of the most chaotic classes, kind of depending on how things round up, especially kind of given those top 10 picks. Speaking of rookies, Connor Bedard out 6 to 8 weeks here. Tough hit. I kind of saw it looked clean relatively. Shoulder to that. Yeah. So I don't think there's any really debate here in terms of kind of any suspensions coming. But the implications now, if we look to the Calder here, so Bedard is still the favorite here, minus 150. He leads all rookies in points with 33. Next up, you have Rossi and Fantilli tied at 24 as well. But the next favorite up is Luke Hughes at 4-1, Brock Faber 5.5-1, and Fantilli at 8-1 here. So I guess the question here is, are you looking to kind of steer any other direction besides Bedard in terms of winning this award, given he's out 6 to 8 weeks?
So I already have money on Cooley, and him playing with Gunther the past 2 games has been a little bit of a revelation. He was kind of brought back down to the 4th line. I'm not saying I think he has a shot yet, but if he keeps on heating up, I don't know how far back he is as far as the rookie point race goes, but
he's got 19,
and the top is
33. Bedard,
but then what's
and then Rossi and Fantilli are 24.
So he's not far back from second place, really.
Yep.
And I imagine the odds are pretty good right now.
30-1.
Yep. So
really good.
yeah, I may actually put a couple extra bucks on it. I do like Rossi a lot, but how long is Kaprizov out?
Yeah,
That hurts his stock for sure.
That entire team not being great. So the Calder's a weird one because it really always has felt like which rookie puts up the most points, right?
Yes.
But everybody knows it should be Bedard. So at what point here is it slightly storyline based? Because Luke Hughes
you have to
without
like
Jack
exceed.
Hughes,
You have to exceed
yes,
expectations like big time, I think, to be able to beat Bedard. That's what's going to come down to.
So let me paint a picture.
All right.
Luke Hughes on a powerhouse team that has struggled through injuries, and now Jack is out. I really think it's going to slide at this point. I don't know. Maybe he runs away with it. Maybe he starts producing more points, but it's hard enough for a defenseman to make it. I'll take Faber over him just as far as the impact that player's having. Marco Rossi, I think, probably has the best chance of getting the most points here now. If Bedard's out for truly 8 weeks, which would put it till into March. So he'll probably have another month of play time. If he's 6 weeks, I think Bedard could probably still get it. I just don't know if Minnesota's going to be able to make the playoffs and make a huge impact, especially if Kaprizov's out for a while. And Rossi has not been producing all that much these past couple games without Zuccarello and Kaprizov in the lineup.
Yeah, Zook's back at least, so that will help.
Zook's back at least, but even Zuccarella's, I mean, he's only been back, is this like his second game?
2 games, maybe,
or is this third coming up tonight? But I don't feel like he's been like carrying the weight.
No, he's never been that type of guy.
No. Now, if the Yotes can make the playoffs and Cooley lands in second place in rookie scoring, let's say Rossi has 2 more points than him, but Yotes make the playoffs and Cooley makes a big push here where he's putting up, let's say he puts up 30 points in these last 40 games or so. How's that look?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly an argument. I completely agree with that. I guess my next question here is, so Luke Hughes 4-1 here. He's currently got 23 points, so he's 1 behind second place right now. If he ends the season, let's say with 5 less points, 10 less points even than Bedard, does he have a shot?
I think
I think
Devils have to make the playoffs, because if they don't, I think there's no narrative for it.
And I mean, it's tough enough for defensemen, like you said. I mean, the only year where that wasn't the case was with Seider, and that kind of worked the flip-flop way where Bunting had the most points, but Seider was overwhelmingly the guy. Yeah, exactly. Everybody bashed on that. I was pissed I had a Bunting ticket there. But, yeah, I mean, typically it is most points, right? So I don't know. I think the narrative is like the main driving factor, like you said. In that year, the narrative was Seider was on such a poor Detroit team, and he was still, putting up a great plus minus and putting up points and playing crucial minutes, that it didn't matter how many points Bunting had. So this is going to be the same case with Bedard, where it's like Bedard is just so freaking talented that it doesn't matter how many points this guy or this guy's going to put up. So, like you said, it's almost like it has to be something special.
Yeah, I agree. And I honestly still think Bedard will probably win it. But
so is there value on Bedard at only minus 150 right now?
I'd like go down more or up more, rather.
If anything, it's got to drop, right?
Yeah, I was going to say it's going to go. So if you're going to grab it now, I think 150 is not a terrible number.
I will.
No, I think
only
I think
put
it's
a
going to
half
move down.
unit on Cooley.
You think it's going to go towards like even money?
I would think so.
Yeah.
Like what if Ross, say tomorrow Rossi puts up 2 points or something
What if
like
he gets
that?
a hat trick? Yeah.
Yeah, or whatever. Yeah. I mean, I have a Rossi ticket too, but like I'm not confident in it at this point.
No.
Like I just don't see the narrative where unless he just goes on an absolute tear, Kaprizov comes back, Minnesota pushes for the playoffs. Like how far are they out? I mean,
it's bad now. There's a second where they're clawing back up, but it's bad now. And I don't remember how long Kaprizov's out.
Yeah. I mean, that's big.
So he's at
not like he's been it's not like he's been a normal Kaprizov.
They did find that form though. They did find that form when they had the coaching change, but
they went on the streak for a little bit. Now they're struggling. But so do you wait the 6 to 8 weeks, see where Bedard's line moves if it's close to plus money, and if no one's still ahead of him in terms of 39 points, you just take it then?
I'm hedging with Bedard in maybe like 4 weeks here.
I like it. Yeah, I think you monitor the injury news and then let everyone catch up a little bit.
Yep.
Let the line move back, and then you hammer Bedard at plus money.
Yep.
I think even to start the season, I don't think he was plus money. I think he was minus
120. Minus 120 when he opened.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. So if you can get a better number than that mid-season, I think you jump on it.
And it was Bedard.
Yeah, and I think you follow his recovery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a pretty smart play at that point.
And if the longer it seems, I would put more tickets out on Faber, Luke Hughes, Rossi, Cooley, obviously those four, but I'm fading Luke. He's probably my least favorite out of those other four right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think with Jack being out, that team's going to be rough right now.
And honestly, I think Faber's been more impressive. The kid's been playing 30 minutes a night.
It's insane what he's doing.
Yeah.
But again, Cooley playing with Gunther looks like a thing after 2 games. It's only been 2 games, but that's a top 9 pick a couple years ago that has Max Pacioretty kind of tangibles and skill set, and he's playing with a pure playmaker now. Third line mismatch everywhere. They look like they're building chemistry. I'm a homer, obviously, but that could spike real quick here. So I'm probably going to put a quarter unit. I already have a half unit on Cooley. I probably will put a quarter unit here while it's like max value. And then in 4 weeks, if things are still not making much sense, I'll probably put a full unit on Bedard to hedge my half unit Rossi and 3/4 unit Cooley bets that I have.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to sprinkle Cooley at that number. I like the value there.
It's too good a value. He's not that far out. He's been slumping. He was being played on the 4th line. Hayton's coming back. We're finally going to have a full healthy team here. And again, if they find a way to make the playoffs, Tierney, the head coach, needs to be considered for Jack Adams too. But you got the narrative in place then.
Yeah, I agree. Last topic I want to touch on before we get into the games here too. The shots on goal market seems to be completely gone in the NHL. I know, Franco, you kind of stay away from it or have stayed away from it, which is smart.
Welcome to the parties, pals.
Yeah. But I mean, last night too, I saw Griffey Betts, shout out him, kind of tweet his retirement in terms of the shots on goal market last night after Thompson and Ehlers both ended with 0, which is something I've rarely seen, if at all, in terms of this market. But it feels like just overly inflated in terms of the numbers, the prices you're getting on these guys, and in terms of the selection overall. So, Betzky, any thoughts on kind of the current state of the shots on goal market?
Last night was brutal. Last night was real ugly for all my plays. Shots were really bad last night, but I actually think for it being January, and we've seen slowdowns in Januaries before, the past couple of weeks have been pretty decent, to be honest. I mean, I've had December, Yeah,
It wasn't bad.
late
Yeah, you're
December
right.
was bad. No, late December was bad. I would say since Winter Classic, and I know that's only been like a week and a half now, there's been some big names being very consistent. I mean, there's been a lot of plays that I kind of got hooked because of, one guy who I actually went a little off the wall with. And if I just took the chalky guy, it would have been fine. I mean, when you look down the lineup, McCarr's been great lately. Konechny's been fantastic. I know I'm not making a great case here with me blanking, but
no, I agree though. I've seen a lot of people cashing shot on goal props over the last week or so. So
yeah,
last night was a bad night for that, but
last night was a bad night. But I now, all that being said, is as we get closer to the All-Star break, it does tend to slow down. So that may have just been a little, resurgence from the holiday break, and then it may get really ugly here. But I'm not totally done with it yet. I'll probably play it out a little bit longer here. The start of the season was so weird that I think we could maybe see some guys who just weren't shooting before kind of finding that groove again. I mean, Matty Tkachuk's been great.
It's been better.
The Panthers team's been pretty good again. Reinhardt's been fantastic. I'm just trying to think of more names off the top of my head. I mean, Panarin's still cruising at 3.5. Crosby just hit a 3.5 line again, and he was just getting a little bit cold. Gensel's gotten like 4 or 5 straight. He missed last game against the Flyers, but he was one of pretty much the only Pittsburgh Penguin main guy you would go to that missed. Konechny, Tippett. I'm just trying to think of teams at this point. The Toronto boys have been great. Tavares was on that huge streak. Larkin.
For a little while,
if you picked Larkin, Kane, Vetrano on Sunday, that Detroit Ducks game, you would have hit all 3 of those guys easy.
Yeah,
Ehlers,
Vetrano's been great, man. Vetrano's been great, actually. I don't know why I haven't
even last year he was
looking
good.
at him. I keep looking at him and not betting him at home, especially.
Yeah,
but he missed 2 games ago. I know.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. No, I agree.
Still been good. Yeah. I mean, there's definitely value there, but there's probably more landmines than years before. Yes,
it's just you got to be more selective this year. Like in years past, it was just like, okay, what's the slate? These are the guys. Bam, easy, without much thought, And now it's more like, okay, this dude's been 8, 9, 10 games in a row. Like he's going to miss. It's.
Yeah,
he doesn't have an incentive it's not like a point streak or a goal streak or anything like that. It's just shots. Like he doesn't have an extra incentive to be like, oh well, I hit my shot on goal prop 15 times in a row. Look at me. Like he's just playing the game. So like if that happens to be that game where like stuff's just not going, like his first couple of shots get blocked, teams are focusing more on him and he's passing instead, like that's what people aren't like factoring into this, That's there's no incentive to the player extra for them to have extra shots in a given game. So the streak thing, as much as we're like driven by it, like and we have to use something to base our research off of, a shot on goal streak doesn't mean shit. Like to be frank,
no, but it does go. It
shows that they're playing with confidence.
Yes,
it shows that they're playing with confidence, right? Yeah. So like you hope that they continue, and obviously you look at volume and all that fun stuff as well, and that plays into it. But I'm just saying, on the surface, like you see stats and you're like, oh, 10 games in a row, or this guy's hit 8 games in a row, 9 games in a row. Like that doesn't mean anything, especially if it's 3 shots on 3 attempts. Like if you're not looking that extra bit to see that, like it doesn't matter. His last 2 games, he had 3 shots on 3 attempts. Like he was that close to missing those last 2 games. Yeah, he hit. That's great, but you didn't bet him.
Yeah,
So and you're hopping on the wagon late, and that's why you end up losing.
And the killer thing is, in years before, you could do 3 guys to get around plus 700 and up value, and now you're having to do 4 to 5, and that's where the issue is to me. I do think stat keepers have been asked to be a little bit tighter on it too, because there's more money on it.
Absolutely. I agree with that too. Yeah.
And So I think we are seeing some volume go, and the books aren't, the books don't need to adjust. But I think we're also seeing that they've bumped the line or juiced the line so bad that you just can't get the same value out of a parlay. And in the end of the day, every single bet is 50-50 if it's going to hit, right? No matter how good the guy is playing against the crappiest team in the league, or the crappiest team in the league could be playing the best team in the league.
Look at Edmonton, Chicago last night too.
15 shots. How's that possible?
Yeah,
exactly. So in the end of the day, it's either the bet hits or it doesn't hit. There's no way around it. Obviously, there's pushes, but it hits or it doesn't hit. So if I flip a coin, I could get heads 15 times in a row. It's the same probability of
me hitting that shot prop.
Yep.
Yeah.
In the end of the day, yep. So
gambling.
all we can do is try to find the best leans, try to find the guys who have great volume because they are feeling it at that point, but we don't know when that ends. We don't know when they got in an argument with their girlfriend at the hotel and the next day they just aren't there mentally. So I think that's why it feels worse. I don't think it's all that different.
Yeah.
I think there are, and year season over season, we're going to have to get used to it. There's going to be names that adjust. Like McKinnon used to hit at home at a 70% clip rate. Maybe that stat keeper has to count shots a little bit tighter, and now he's not hitting that much because his attempts are still there.
Well, and obviously the Florida guy is gone.
The Florida guy is gone, or he has been talked to.
The rest,
Pour one out for that dude.
Yeah, he needs a banner or something at the local bar or something for all the money he's made those patrons.
At the Hard Rock Casino.
Yeah.
They're probably the ones that fired him, but
very true. All right, let's get into the games for tomorrow, January 11th. We have 6 games that we're going to go through here. We'll start the first one. Los Angeles at Florida here. LA
speaking
plus
of the keeper.
Yeah, speaking of the legend. LA plus 114 on the money line. Florida minus 135. Over under set at 6 here. Juice slightly to the over. Interesting matchup here. It seems like a tale of two stories with these teams here. LA has lost their last 6 in this one. Florida, opposite of that, red hot on an 8-game winning streak going into this one. A few storylines in this one. Obviously, Pierre-Luc Dubois demoted to the 4th line. We saw that tweet come out yesterday. It makes sense. You just kind of see more and more clips on Twitter of him just kind of coasting around. Franco, I think you're his number 1 hater. So this is a victory lap for you at this point. So credit to you. We talked about his contract too. It's actually just absurd. $8.5 million until 2031. 7 more seasons he's on the books for. So have fun, Kings fan.
Yeah, it's not going to be bad all 7 years of it, but he's clearly more of a 4.5 to 5 mil player. And I'm sure there's going to be years he bounces back and they all feel like it's worthwhile again. But in the end, between the assets they gave up and the amount they gave him
after he signed a big one in Buffalo, the next year he was awful,
maybe it'll work
and
out
he bounced back. So
but he's never really done that before. He's never even been at a Skinner level, to be honest. But if he plays like a good 2C for 2 more years, 3 more years, that's my prediction. Out of 7 more years, he has 2 to 3 good 2C years, and that's still not worth that contract and what they gave up. So,
I mean, I think it comes down to motivating him, right? Like he's got the talent. It's just, I think he knows he has the talent, and then he's just like, I'll just get by on that. We're good.
Yeah.
So I think that's what's most frustrating about him is he's a talented player. It's just you can tell he doesn't have it sometimes. Yeah. And right now is that stretch.
I'll start with you here, Betzky. Any plays in this Florida Kings game?
Well, Florida's coming off maybe one of the best road trips I've seen, and Winnipeg's had a very similarly great road trip too, but playing, kind of the dog shit teams, for lack of better words, in the West, where Florida has kind of gone through the best of the West. And I like to pump the brakes on my teams, the teams I like generally coming home from a big road trip like that. So this is one where I think the Kings are going to need a big pushback. they've been a great road team all season, and this trip has not gone that way. Talbot not being healthy has hurt. Copley being out for the rest of the season. That's not going to be great either with a team that already had some goalie issues. But I think this is a spot where I'll take the Kings money line any day on this. I don't know what it's at right off the bat.
Plus 115.
Poof, yeah, please give that to me.
Yeah, they've been great on the road too. 13-3-2 this season.
Yep. So I feel like this is a spot where you're going to get a sleepy team that had a lot to be happy about coming home, getting back into their beds, feeling good about themselves. And now they got a team that is hurting, who has lost 6 straight. Wow.
6 straight. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and you look at their last 2 games,
all
too.
3 games on the road trip too.
Yeah. Their efforts have been better as of late. They took Tampa Bay to overtime, lost 4-3 to Washington, another shootout loss, bad loss to Toronto, and then a shootout loss to Edmonton. So it's not like they're necessarily getting killed in these games. They're pretty close. Yeah. I don't hate that look at all, and especially too their last game on Tuesday, they played in Tampa, so it's not a long road trip really at all.
No, they've probably been hanging out in Miami for a little bit. Yeah,
exactly. So you wonder, does the hangover play a role for the Kings now? Slump buster.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Franco,
real quickly, this is one where I'm probably going to stay away from the shots, even though I as much as I normally love going heavy on Florida at home, Kings are very good against shots, and these are 2 top 5 teams for shooting. But again, you may have a sleepy Cats team and a motivated Kings team, and I don't know how you look at that or how you favor that, but
yeah. Franco, any looks for you here in this one?
I mean, I want to agree with you, Betzky, on the LA side here, just because historically this is a terrible spot for Florida. 4-0 on a road trip, wins prior to that as well. You know, the typical fat and happy coming home from a road trip and feeling good about yourself. But it seems like the Kings can't get out of their own way right now. 2-0 against Tampa in that game, and they blow that lead late and lose in overtime. I feel like it's kind of like, I mean, maybe I just lay off because of that, because I want to back Florida just because I feel like when you're bad, you're just bad, and right now that's what the Kings are. They're like, they lost what they had going earlier in the season. They're not getting the same goaltending, and I thought that was a weakness going into the season, and now it's kind of starting to show its head a little bit. So, and they're just not showing the same performance that they were showing, the same dominance, the same scoring as well. So I don't know. I can't back LA. I guess the price is pretty decent, plus 115, but at least it's not minus money. I think they were minus money against Tampa the other day. So I get it. They've been great on the road, but I'm always of the mind that, like, if you've on a cold streak like this and you're not hitting, you're not playing well, like, there's no reason to back a team like that. So I would say Florida or pass. And when I look at like the stats, like historically with these teams too, not too many Kings like really stand out as having great performances against Florida. So that kind of worries me as well. Whereas the Florida players stand out more so. So, I mean, Verhaeghe looks great. Probably, honestly, I think you just bet Verhaeghe and Reinhart goal every game until like this stops. And you're probably going to at least go 1-1 and make some profit there. So that will probably be like what I'll go with when all's said and done. Probably lay off the money line and just ride those 2 goal scorers because they've just been red hot. Kachuk as well, man. I mean, he looks rejuvenated. Where the hell has this guy been?
Yeah,
all
he
year?
looks
injured. He's been injured.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess like just like that long layoff and lingering effects from the injury. I don't know, but I mean, maybe he's back. And if that's the case, I mean, Florida hasn't looked right for like the good chunk of the year. They didn't look like that team that we saw last year. That's for sure. And maybe they're starting to round into that form, and that's kind of scary. I mean, Bobrovsky's been good. again. Like he has his stretches
All season.
always where he, yeah, I mean, they're not a team that concedes a ton of goals, and their penalty kill was like 31st a few weeks ago.
Yep.
Probably like 2 months ago, say, and now they're like top 5.
Yep.
So I mean that's crazy what we've seen this turnaround, and obviously like getting Montour and Ekblad back months ago plays into that, but I don't know. I can't go against Florida here, so that's probably where I'm going to end up.
Yeah, I mean, I took these stats Tuesday night, or Tuesday afternoon, so didn't affect Tuesday's games. But for Hagee, you mentioned him. He's been great as of late. 5 of 5, 7 of his last 10, and then 6 of 7 at home here. And then even on the Kings side too, there's a few bright stars despite kind of their 6-game losing streak here. Kopitar's been great on the road. He's hitting 9 of his last 10 here, and even Kempe too. He's hitting 8 of his last 10 on the road. So if you guys to target Doughty shots, hitting each of his last 8 games on the road, he's at 1.5. So probably going to be a little bit juiced there. And then the last guy I had was just Reinhardt, who's just been automatic. 5 of his last 6 at home and 8 of his last 10 overall. So that's all I have here. Betzky, I don't mind the Kings in this matchup here. I think that's kind of where I'm going to lean on this one. It's going to be interesting to see the goaltender matchup. If they put Bob back in that after his he was great for a while, and then he let up 4 his last start. So we'll see if they put him back in, but we'll just monitor that moving forward. The next game up we have here is Vancouver at Pittsburgh here. Vancouver plus 105 on the money line. Pittsburgh minus 125. Over under at 6.5 here. I'll start with you, Franco. Any plays in this one?
This kind of feels like a bad spot for Vancouver, I would say. They're in the middle of 7-game road trip here. This will be the 5th game of it. They're 4-1 so far, or I guess it'll be 6th game of the road trip. But yeah, I mean, long road trip. Eventually, there has to be a letdown, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that means it's this game. Pittsburgh's kind of been playing a little bit better, but they've been up and down, hit or miss. It doesn't seem like they can really string anything together either. So I kind of lean Pittsburgh here. But one thing I thought was like really interesting here is no matter what, it seems like when you look at historicals against teams, even if it's teams that are not in the same conference and stuff like that, guys like Pettersson, JT Miller on this Vancouver team still stick out, right? It might be, they only played 4 games against them in the last however many years, but they have 7 points. Like it just is always how it is. But yet that's not the case here in this. Miller has 1 goal in 4 games. Pettersson has 1 assist in 4 games against Pittsburgh. I don't know why that is, but like it's kind of shocking to see 2 absolute, like, I mean, pretty much 0 to 2 point per game players not even scratching a point every 4 games. So I don't know. I just thought that was really interesting because I want to just kind of stay on that wagon with that line going together. I've been hitting Miller and Pettersson point together. Has been bettable a couple of nights. I added Besser the last night and that missed because he didn't record a point. But I mean, since that line's been put together, they've been an absolute wagon. It seems like they're scoring 2 to 3 goals every night between those 3. So despite that history, I still feel like you have to go there. But that's why I kind of was leaning a little bit towards the Pittsburgh side because of just not seeing what you'd want to see there. On the Pittsburgh side, though, Karlsson, 8 assists in 6 games against Vancouver, and he's kind of heating up as well. Goal and 3 assists in his last 3 games. Not really picking up the shots on goal for you guys, but yeah, I mean, his assist prop should be bettable, I would think, given the matchup. I don't think his point prop, is probably going to be like minus 170 or something like that. So that's probably where I would look, I guess, here, or Gensel assists. I feel like he's been bumped up to 1.5 points, and no matter what, he seems to be getting an assist pretty much every game, and the bet is still bettable every time. It's kind of like an under the radar thing that I keep not betting and keep looking at, and seeing it cash. So maybe I'll actually take it this time. That means he's definitely
scoring.
not going to get one.
Yeah, that means he's scoring.
I know.
Betzky, any looks for you in this one?
I'll keep on going with the shots props here, but Brian Rust at home is a thing. I don't know how he is against Vancouver off the top of my head, but he's been matchup proof before. He's back from injury. He's I don't even know if he's hit, and it's 2 games back, but his volume's been going up a little bit, and I feel like this is a nice spot for him to kind of get back on that wagon of being at like a 75% clip rate at home. So I'll probably look into that. Crosby, I'm going to wait another game. I mean, it was against the Flyers, who he was always very motivated against to put up shots. His volume was really low for a little bit there, so want to see if he kind of starts stringing games together again, because Gensel seemed to be taking a lot of those shots away. I like the Pittsburgh money line too. I think that's my favorite side here. I feel like this may be an under game too, because those Vancouver games have been flying over lately, and it's been 2 games where you kind of expected it to go maybe under, and it has not happened yet. So maybe this is the game where Vancouver tries to play a really tight game and Pittsburgh squeaks out a win 3-1 or something like that.
Yeah, I'm on the opposite side, actually. I kind of like the over here.
It's hard not to like the over. I mean,
I mean, you look at Jari, so obviously him and Nedeljkovic have been flip-flopping each game in this one. Jari, 3 goals against in each of his last 2, from what I can see here, too. And DeSmith got the last start for Vancouver in that win against the Islanders, but Demko has allowed multiple goals, 3 or more in 3 of his last 4 starts here, too. Vancouver's offense, also the last 10, has been buzzing. Mm-hmm. Even Pittsburgh's offense has been great, and Vancouver's defense has also started to allow more goals, and that's kind of directly correlated to shots against, too. Vancouver starting to give up a few more as of late, so I don't mind the over here. 6.5 minus 120 here, so that's probably going to be my lone play in this one, but we'll see what happens.
Huge missed opportunity for them not to be starting to Smith here if they are indeed starting Demko. Come on, man, you got to give the guys revenge.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, and DeSmith is pretty good in his last one. 2 goals against, but only
and you would think he'd be motivated. I mean, why wouldn't you roll him in that game?
You know, something else I had double check. I wonder how Rick Tocchet coach teams have done against Pittsburgh since he's left.
It's like a stat muse.
Yeah.
That's the only website I could think
Whoever
of.
has that premium subscription, send us over. Let us know on Twitter.
Hit a Betzky in the DMs. But next game up here, we got New Jersey at Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay minus 135 on the money line, over under set at 6.5 here. New Jersey 5-2 in their last 7, 12-6-0 on the road. Tampa Bay 6-4 in their last 10, but have been much better at home. 12-5-3. New Jersey obviously dealing with a bunch of injury issues, kind of coming into this game here. So I'll start with you here, Betzky. Any looks in this one?
And it's got to be Tampa money line. I really think this is an ugly looking game. Jersey without Hughes, Foley doing nothing, Meyer out. I don't trust Heischer you're looking at almost a completely different team build up. So I'm not touching anything on the Jersey side. So I don't know. I mean, if you want to get chalky with it, well, you know what? Kucherov over 1.5 points looks really good as far as just Jersey allowing a ton of goals lately. Tampa wanting to really start turning this around after kind of a disastrous road trip and then a big win against the Kings. I don't know how his history is against the Devils right off the top of my head, but again, this is a borderline tank-worthy Devils roster on paper right now with Hughes out, Hamilton out, Meyer out. The other side I would probably take a peep at, especially because he's probably going to get more minutes, is Andre Palat playing his former team. He's out. No, never mind. Kucherov points and Tampa money line look good to me.
like it. I like Tampa Bay money line a lot here.
Hedman assist has been really good lately too. So.
Yep. Franco, any looks for you in this one?
Yeah, I probably lean Tampa as well here at home. They're just so much better. Maybe team total or something like that as well. I feel like every Devils game they just give up 3 to 4 goals no matter what. Like that's the starting point, and it could get worse than that if the goalie's just playing terribly. So one guy that's weird though, I guess kind of in a way, or sticks out a little bit for the Devils is Michael McLeod. 3 goals in his last 3 games and an assist. Like, I mean, I don't think we're gonna get his point prop. If we did, that would be kind of nice, like like a plus 150 type of guy. But I like Mercer there, and Hagel point for Tampa.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all. I like those plays. Any other thoughts here, Betzky? I think we're just agreement here. Tampa Bay money line. Just kind of roll with that in this one. The other guys too, in terms of kind of point props for Tampa Bay, haven't really stuck out to me. Point, usually shots on goal, kind of any of those guys, but I think we're just going to roll with that.
Yeah. This is going to be right now a Devils team that isn't, it's half the usual roster. I'm going to wait and see are they going to allow a ton of shots, or are they going to play a tight defensive game and try to squeak by 2-1 wins? But
I mean, yeah, and you look at Vasilevsky too. Obviously, he's been better, I think, in his last few starts, but he has not had a great year after he's come back from that injury at all.
No.
Next game up here, we have Toronto at the Islanders here. The Islanders have lost 4 of the last 5, just continuing to struggle. Toronto on a 4-game win streak here, pretty solid on the road. Any looks for you here?
Yeah. I mean, this is one where I want to go straight to Tavares shots. I know he's ex-Islanders. I don't actually think he's always been very good against them historically with his shots on goal, but that streak that he was just on was pretty insane. I know he dropped it against the Sharks, maybe 2 in a row against the Sharks, but that's an easy team. You don't always have to give it your all when you're up 4-0 halfway through the second. So I'm going to chalk it up to bad opponent and see if he gets going right back on schedule with kind of that crazy shot streak he's been having lately. Islanders are extremely leaky. The past couple times Tavares has faced the Islanders since he became Toronto, that wasn't the case. This is kind of a different style version of the Islanders we're seeing right now. So, this is the spot where I'm probably going to lean a little bit into the shots market. Nelson's been fantastic at home. He wasn't able to get it against Vancouver, but when you're hitting 80% at home, generally that means after you miss, you're probably going to bounce back. So Brock Nelson shots may be something to look at as well. And Toronto's been kind of struggling against shots on top of that. So those are probably the 2 ones that really stand out immediately. I don't know what to make of the Islanders goaltending, and it makes me want to kind of jump on maybe some power play points from the Toronto side too. So Nylander's been hitting his power play point 50% this season. Yeah. You can get a lot of value on that. Had 2-point nights against San Jose. Give me his power play point if it's around even money or even slightly plus money. It doesn't seem like the books have caught on that the Islanders are really kind of an over team right now. So you can get a lot more value on point props than you would expect, to be honest.
Yeah, you mentioned a few guys for shots too. Anders Lee has been good at home as well. 6 of his last 8 he's hit there, and then 4 of his last 5 overall as well. Marner too has started to pick up his shot volume as well, hitting each of his last 5, greater samples, 6 of his last 7, and then 5 of his last 5 on the road as well. So he's another guy that'll probably look for. He's usually a little bit juiced, but we'll see what happens in this one. Franco, any looks in Toronto, New York?
I agree with you guys on Tavares. I think it's the perfect bounce back spot after the miss the other day. So gotta go right back to him on Long Island. It's just a must, I feel like.
He just got his 1,000th career point against them.
Yeah, he had a 2-point game in that game too. So that That was awesome. So I mean, his shots probably something to do with points with him as well. I don't know if you want to go goal, go assist, whatever you want to do, split a unit between them or something like that. I don't mind that. Horvat point stood out to me as well. I don't know if you're going to get value on it, but 4 points in his last 3 games and 14 points in 14 games against Toronto historically. So he was a guy that let me down the other day in his game against Vancouver. I thought he would have. I know it wasn't in Vancouver, so maybe that's why. But yeah, the 2 games he has played against Vancouver, he's been very productive. So pretty good history here for him against Toronto. So I don't know what that driving factor is or anything like that, but I don't mind him either if I can get a good price on his point.
Yeah, agreed. Second to last game up, we have Calgary at Arizona here. Calgary minus 118 on the money line. Over under set at 6 here. Slightly juiced the under in this one. Looks like some good targets here. I'll start with you here, Betzky. Obviously, it's your team, but any which way you're leaning in terms of sides, totals, props, where are you going with this one?
Yeah, I mean, if you can get a Gunther point, that's definitely something I'd look into. He had an assist and a goal last game and a goal his first game since being called up, but Cooley's on his line as well. Plus, both of them are getting power play time. I believe Gunther was on the top unit for a little bit last game. So those are probably going to be some plus money props to kind of look at and circle, especially because Calgary is kind of a team you can exploit a little bit with depth. Right now, they seem to be more of a top 2 line type team as far as their forwards go. They still have a very solid blue line there, but I think you can see some mismatches, especially as Zona keeps on getting healthier. It's not one that I love as far as shots go. Shockingly, Arizona's really cut them back. Now, Calgary is like a top 5 team for shots for, but it's really spread out. So, I mean, Kadri's been pretty decent at that 3. Well, very good against the 3 line, but he's usually set at 3.5. Backlund's really been up and down. Coleman will have 3 games in a row where he flies past his 2.5 line and then just disappears for 3 games. The only one that seems very consistent right now is Sharangovich on the top line, and he's been having an insane volume as far as his shot attempts go. I think he's going around 7 to 8 most of his games in his last 5 or so. So that may be the only kind of shots area I'll lean on this one. But
any thoughts on Dursey here? I have him circled. He's hitting 4 of his last 5, 7 of his last 8, and then 7 of his last 10 at home. Before he kind of went on the streak, you get him maybe around minus 110 to even money in terms of the 1.5 line. And it seems like every game it slips 5 cents. And I think now it's around that minus 145, minus 150 line. So almost turning into a parlay piece at this rate.
Yeah, but this is a nice parlay piece.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where he was earlier this year too. So
yeah.
Franco, any looks for you in this one?
I'm probably just going to bet Gunther goal. Because why the hell not? I'm kind of disappointed I didn't grab him last night after getting him his first game. But yeah, I mean, I like what the kid brings to the ice. He just has it, I guess you would say, right? And with Cooley on his line too. I mean, that's exciting. I mean, Betsy, you got to be amped up right now seeing these 2 guys showing out and especially against Boston. You know, it's not like they're playing against Chicago or something like that. So a little bit of excitement for Arizona right now. They were kind of they lose like 2 or 3 during this homestand to start it, and then that big game against Boston. So probably lean Arizona here. And then I guess you gotta go Huber to a point, right? If it's still bettable. I know it was minus 110 last game. 4 of his last 5, I believe. With a point and pretty good history against them. So I guess why the hell not him? I mean, him and Sharangovich have just been awesome.
They really have.
I don't know, what else to say. I mean, Lindholm's been good, but he's always good. So, I mean, that's not surprising or anything. So that line just seems to be working for Calgary. So yeah, I'll probably lean there. One more thing I would probably say is, whoever the goalie is going to be for Calgary, I guess it'll probably be Markstrom, probably his under saves. It seems like Arizona in general doesn't shoot a ton. So that will probably be a look I'll be looking at depending on what the number is. I wanted to back Swayman under in that last game, but I don't know what he ended up at or what his number was. So again, it just depends on where they put the line. Allmark.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, my mistake. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, sometimes they put those lines like 23.5, and it's pretty scary to take an under at a number like that. It's too low. So we'll see where it's at.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Calgary's. I mean, even that third line of Mangiapane, Backlund, and Coleman's been pretty great too. Mangiapane's had in each of his last 5 games overall, each of his last 5 on the road in terms of points. Even Coleman too, 4 of his last 5, and then 8 of his last 10 on the road for points. They're both bettable numbers in this game, so I don't hate any of those in this game. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have here. Last game up on the slate, we got Boston at Vegas here. Vegas is a home dog, plus 110 here. Over under at 6. Vegas 3-7 in their last 10, but good news for them. They are 14-4-2 at home. So I guess that's kind of the bright spot of this team. Boston's on a 2-game losing streak, 5-3-2 in their last 10 here. Bunch of question marks here. Obviously, Allmark's kind of extended absence. Swayman came in for relief. He'll definitely start this game here. Aiden Hill returns tonight on Wednesday, so they'll wonder if they'll play him back-to-back games, but I doubt they will, especially if he's coming off that injury. Thompson's hurt as well, so that's going to be another issue here. And Thompson's questionable with illness, so I'll start with you here, Franco. Any looks in Boston, Vegas?
I feel like you have to wait until you see what happens tonight with VGK. I mean, this is a big game against Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they're going to be traveling too, right? I mean, it's not a big travel, but they're technically on the road going back home for Boston. So I would assume Boston's in Vegas waiting for them. I don't know if that's a good thing for Boston, though.
That's fair.
That's
the night off before the game. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. But yeah, I want to see how Vegas looks tonight. I think it feels like they might have, they got that win. Maybe they're going to turn that corner. If they win tonight against Colorado, I might kind of want to lean them to come back and take Boston too. I know it's difficult on a back-to-back, but Boston hasn't looked right particularly either. And, there's nothing like a cure for losing to Arizona in the way they did than to go to Vegas the next night and get hammered. So we'll see. We'll see what kind of shape they're in to start that game as well. Maybe take Vegas first period or something like that with that thought. But yeah, I mean, as far as player props and stuff like that, I mean, I feel like you're getting value on Geeky every game for Boston.
Yep, that's a great call.
On that line. I don't know why I'm not just betting it every game. I feel like it should just be an auto bet. So I like that. And then if I can get Mark Stone assist at a nice number, which I assume you probably can, he's got 3 in 3 games against them in the last couple of years. So typically the assist guy for this team. So I like that look as well for Vegas.
Yeah. Betzky, any looks for you in this one?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to want to not pull the trigger on Morgan Geeky points right now. As long as they keep those lines together. Seemed like Machard was heating up a little bit there. So I don't know, maybe see if he's got some history with Vegas. Mark Stone assist I think it's about 70% hit at home, is plus 110 today. That one's probably been something I've been overlooking. I just kind of noticed it today when I was doing my research. So that may be something I go back to, even though Swayman and the Bees are tough on goals. I don't know. Marcia shots have been up and down and more on the upside lately too. His volume's been better. I always get nervous with these back-to-backs, so I always kind of want to see how the game goes for the team that's on the back-and-back first, and then kind of reevaluate then, though. But I do like that Boston first period too, Franco. I think that's a nice one.
Yeah. Two other guys too that you mentioned for Boston, or that you didn't mention for Boston too. That second line, Coyle's been absolutely phenomenal as of late.
And
Hitting
DeBrusk.
each of his last 7. Yep, and DeBrusk too as well. He was hitting 6 of his last 7. Both road dogs. Coyle 4 of 4 of his last games on the road, and then DeBrusk 3 of 4 his last 4 games on the road. Hampus Lindholm too, after a disastrous start to the season, pretty much going without a point, which seemed like forever. Now has points in 4 of his last 5, so he could be an interesting look. I'm not sure what his history is against Vegas. Probably played them a bunch before, not so much with Boston, but that's kind of all I have. I don't mind the over here, depending on if Thompson's out with an illness and Hill doesn't start tomorrow. The over could be a look here. Swayman hasn't been as good as of late here in terms of his games, so I don't mind the over at 6.
I feel like this is a sneaky over too. I agree with you there. It's
6 right now, minus 120. Yeah.
On the surface, you look at this and you're like under for sure. These two teams under. But this feels like it could be like a 3-3 game in the third period or something like that.
Yep.
And you already cashed your ticket, so
yeah,
I don't mind that.
Yeah, I like that as well. All right, any closing thoughts?
No.
I think we're good. Yeah, covered a lot today. All right, you guys want to shout out your socials one last time?
Franco the Banker on Twitter.
And Gretzky Betzky is on Twitter.
Awesome. As always, you can find me on Twitter as well, at Gator Betting, and our podcast at Expected Bets 4. We appreciate everyone for listening.